Social change in the 20th century. 1. The growth of big cities. Population continued to move from the countryside to the main cities of Dublin, Cork, Limerick, Waterford and Galway, where most of the jobs were created. 2. The Rural Electrification Scheme. Under the scheme, all of the country was provided with electricity between the 1930s and the 1970s. Household jobs became easier with electrical appliances such as vacuum cleaners, washing machines and fridges. 3. Fall in farm employment. The percentage of the population working full-time in farming fell from over 50% in the beginning of the century to less than 10% by the year 2000. Employment in services grew. More food could be produced with fewer farmers. The EU. Ireland joined the European Economic Community in 1973, and trade with Europe became more important, as did investment by foreign firms in Ireland. 5. Housing. Housing improved, and the slums of the early part of the century were replaced by better public housing built by county and city councils. 6. Education. In the early part of the century, only the well-off continued from primary to secondary schools, and most were male. By the end of the century, because of free education and greater wealth, the majority of pupils continued through second-level education. The primary certificate examination in Irish, Maths and English at the end of 6th class in primary school was abolished in 1967. 7. Entertainment. How people entertained themselves changed from attending plays and dances and cinemas to discos and DVDs and computer games. Also, because of more leisure time, the involvement in sport increased. 8. Women voting. Women couldn't vote until 1918. In that year, women who were 30 years old and who owned their own houses were allowed to vote. Men over 21 could vote whether they owned their houses or not. In 1922, at the foundation of the state, men and women over 21 could vote. Countess Markievicz was a government minister in 1919, and there wasn't another until 1979, Máire Geoghegan Quinn. Since 1973, the voting age has been 18 years for men and women. 9. Women working. The number of women in the workforce increased as the belief that the mother's place was in the home minding the children changed over the years. Until 1970, married women had to give up public service jobs, and there was employment discrimination in wages and employment until we joined the European Union in the 1970s. Communication. Communications changed from letter writing and wired telephones, probably owned only by the wealthy, to the use of emails, mobile phones and the use of web pages to advertise and to do business. 11. Cars. The mass production of cars at the start of the century meant that eventually the majority of families owned a car, whereas at the start of the century they were owned only by the rich. Finally, 12. Independence. Ireland began the century in the United Kingdom, and the 26 counties gained independence in 1922. The Good Friday Agreement of 1998 meant that the people of Northern Ireland can decide when and if to be part of a united Ireland.